Creating a 30-part YouTube series is a big job for any editor, but what if the series is filmed in multiple languages that you literally don't speak? That's exactly what we were faced with on a recent project here at Vermilion Films. Over the ensuing hundreds of hours of work, I not only found a smooth workflow to edit videos that were filmed in other languages, but I also learned new ways to improve my productivity and optimize my workflow, while making use of Premiere Productions to prevent the 10 terabytes of footage from creating a sluggish experience during the edit. Imagine Pimp My Ride, but instead of cars, it's tractors. That was the premise of the YouTube series that we were asked to work on by our client AGCO. After completing the first 2 seasons, I was ready to tackle the 3rd season with a well-honed workflow. For the 3rd season, I decided to play a more proactive role in the pre-production process. While editing the first 2 seasons, I occasionally found myself thinking like, oh, I'd wish they'd filmed this or that. So to avoid that this time, utilising a classic story structure, I plotted out a rough plan for each episode, so we could anticipate the shots that we need and request specific footage ahead of time to help tell the story. I think getting the editor involved in pre-production makes so much sense, as they're in such a good position to know what's worked in the past and what's been missing. In the first 2 seasons, I experimented with Premiere Productions, but failed to optimize its potential. Productions allows you to divide complex workflows into a set of linked individual projects, which can share assets without duplicating files. Initially, I made a separate project for each episode, within which all of the footage and timelines would reside for that episode. But this resulted in slow loading times when referring back to previous edits, as I'd have to load up an entire project including all of the footage just to access an old timeline. However, at the start of the 3rd season, I realised I'd been doing it all wrong. This time, I restructured the production setup, creating a project for each day of shooting, as well as separate projects for graphics, music, and timelines. By centralising the timelines in one project, I could easily access and review previous edits without the need to load all of the footage that had been filmed for that episode. This breakthrough not only enhanced efficiency, but also saved considerable time where previously I'd have to sit for 5 minutes waiting for old projects to load. The demanding schedule of the 3rd season posed a challenge, but also an opportunity for optimising how I worked. While the first 2 seasons were edited piecemeal over several months, the 3rd season required me to edit all of the videos within just a few weeks. Starting on Monday afternoon, I embarked on the assistant edit for episode 1, selecting interview segments and the best B-roll to help tell the story. More on how I selected the interview segments in foreign languages shortly. Then on Tuesday morning, I dove into the creative editing process for that first episode. This pattern then continued as I alternated between afternoon assistant edits and morning creative editing for each subsequent episode. This strategy played to my strengths as I knew that my creativity peaked in the mornings. Then, during the more fatigued afternoons, I could make progress with the more methodical task of selecting and organising footage ready for the next day. A huge benefit of editing the videos like this is I got a really good idea of the overarching narrative that was being told across the episodes, and I could start planning what I would do in episode 6 whilst editing episode 2. And thanks to Productions, I could jump around between the timelines seamlessly. Finally, let's delve into the heart of the challenge.
Editing in multiple languages.
Although I don't speak French, German or Finnish, there were 2 main techniques that made it work in the edit. Firstly, we sent all of the footage that was recorded to a company who translated it all into English and provided SRT subtitles back to me that I could sync up with the raw footage in Premiere. This allowed me to select the best interview footage. However, this didn't solve all of my issues, as if I wanted to cut half of a sentence out, the SRT wouldn't allow me to see exactly which word that they were saying would correspond with the translation. Here I made use of Premiere's fantastic transcription tool, which works in many languages. If I had a sentence that I wanted to cut down, I would transcribe it in Premiere, which was accurate enough for my needs, and take that into Google Translate. I could then experiment with cutting words out to see if the results still made sense. I could then go back to Premiere and cut the corresponding words out of the actual video. Later down the line, we got the videos checked by native speakers who could flag if I'd made any mistakes during this process, but generally it was pretty accurate. Editing a 30-part YouTube series filmed in multiple languages was definitely a big task, but with some careful planning and optimised project management and some useful tools, I was able to focus on the storytelling in my edits rather than getting too bogged down in the technical side of things.